Hello and welcome to day 2 of the video series. Today we're going to be talking all about how to make the most out of your macros and actually reaching your macros by pre-planning in MyFitnessPal or whatever tracking app that you're going to use. So I always recommend pre-planning because when you're trying to just do tracking in real time, like if you're standing in front of the refrigerator and thinking, what am I going to have for lunch today? And then you take 30 minutes to plan it out, then you get frustrated and want to give up very easily. That happened to me when I first started. That happened to a lot of my clients at first. So I've learned to help you understand to pre-plan. Take about 10 minutes the night before, plug things into your app so that way you don't have to spend so much time in real time planning everything out. So I'm going to go through a example, and so for this example, I'm going to share my screen here. So for this example, I just made these macros up. For this example, we're going to have 160 grams of carbs per day, 125 grams protein per day, 55 grams of fat per day, and for women, our fiber should always be around 25 to 30, 25 to 35 if your body can handle it. From what I've noticed from coaching a lot of different women, most people's fiber intake from fruits and vegetables is around, I'd say at the most, 14 to 18 grams per day. And so that makes you feel bloated. It doesn't allow your body to absorb nutrients properly, and we're not really getting as many proper nutrients because if our fiber is low, it typically means that our fruit and vegetable intake is low. So these are the example calorie deficit macros we're going to go with. And so now I'm going to show you something that I created, and this is just creating the framework of your meals for the day. Because when you're starting to learn how to track macros, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and think, well, I don't even know where to start. So what I recommend doing is tracking or pre-planning 3 main meals. And then I'm going to show you how to do macro Tetris, where you change the serving sizes of things, add things in, take things out, to like play the game of macro Tetris to figuring out your daily macros. So I recommend choosing a fat, a carb, and a protein source for each of your 3 main meals: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we're going to go through and help you plug in some other things that help with fiber intake and increasing your protein, because another thing that I've found with coaching so many women over these last few years, protein intake is typically around 80 grams, if that. And so most women need to be well above that. So this is, again, creating the framework of your meals. I recommend choosing foods that you already like to eat. So in this example, we are going to do, okay, yeah. So this is the first example. I did keep these in here, elderberry gummies and these gummy vitamins, just as a reminder that everything that you eat counts. Vitamins, minerals, drinks, everything that has calories or, carbs, fats, and proteins should be tracked. Because as you can see, just with these gummies here, that's 7 grams of carbs right there. So I just wanted to keep that in there because those are the ones that I take, and just as a good reminder that those are important also. So for the 3 main meals here, I had something super easy, which I chose 2 eggs, a little bit of egg whites, and 2 pieces of bread. And then for lunch, we're going to do pasta sauce, and chicken. And then for dinner, we're going to have ground beef, taco shells, and light sour cream. And those are some pretty normal, typical meals for most people. So I'm going to show you how to tweak them a little bit, because if you're looking down here, these are the totals for the macros right now. And then I added in just a nighttime snack of a mug cake, which I love to do. You just literally mix it, Kodiak cakes, it's pancake mix. If you mix it with a little bit of water in a mug and you microwave it for about 30 to 40 seconds, it turns into an amazing mug cake. And I just put a little bit of chocolate chips, about 1 serving in there. And it tastes delicious. So with these 4 meals, we're still under on our macros here. And I'm going to scroll down. This is the desktop version. On the phone, it'll look a little bit different, but you can scroll down and check your fiber intake. So with these meals right here, we're too low on carbs, fats, and protein, and we're very low on fiber. So what I did was tweak a few things to help add in some macros and fiber. So again, keeping these gummies here, we stayed the same with 2 eggs. I added in an orange for breakfast. So I do highly recommend that you add in 1 fruit or 1 vegetable to each of your main meals to help boost up that fiber. So I added a little cutie, a little orange. So the big oranges, the normal oranges, are pretty much around between like 25 to 30 grams of carbs. But these cuties, these little halo cutie things, are only 11 grams of carbs, and I've been obsessed with them. I don't know what it is about this time of year, but they're really good. And then I increased the serving size here. Instead of 2 egg whites, I increased it to 4 servings of egg whites to help boost up that protein. And then I changed this wheat bread to 1 slice, because as we up the fiber, we're also increasing carbohydrates a little bit. So we have to balance it with the healthier carbohydrates with the more fun carbohydrates like bread. And as you can see here, you can still eat bread, pasta, taco shells, mug cakes. You don't have to cut out all of these things. We do have to modify them though. So then we're going into lunch, and I still kept the same sauce. I added some zucchini and a little bit of oil to add fats, because most people use oil in their cooking. If you don't want to waste 7 grams of fat on 1/2 of a tablespoon of oil, oil adds up very fast. You can swap that out for any other fat intake that you want. If you want to put in like avocado on there, or any other fats, that would be a good swap there too. I changed the serving size of the pasta to 1/2 of a serving size. And you may be thinking, well, how do I know what a normal serving size is of pasta? It tells you on the label. So if you look at the label of, the bread, the pasta, the sauce, the taco shells, on the nutrition label, it will say, 1 shell or 1 serving is 56 grams of weight. So you'll be able to know the serving size based on the nutrition label, and then you can just scan it. That's the best thing about MyFitnessPal. You can just scan it and it automatically uploads, and then you can change the serving size. So I changed the serving size to 1/2 of a serving of pasta. I increased the chicken breast to 4 ounces to add a little bit of protein, and I added an apple. Again, for more nutrients and for more fiber. And then dinner, I kept the same 96.4 ground beef. You want to make sure when you're putting in your meats in MyFitnessPal, when you're looking them up, or if you're scanning them, you want to make sure that you're putting in raw or cooked, because it does make a very big difference. 4 ounces of raw beef will cook down to about 3 ounces of cooked beef. So it's important to make sure that you're doing the right entry. I kept the 2 shells, added some light sour cream. I added 100 grams of raw red pepper for some nutrients and fiber. And again, I added some oil, because most people cook their ground beef in oil. I do use a lot of the olive oil spray or coconut oil sprays, and that helps reduce the amount of oil used, so that way I can use those fats for other foods. But if you like to use the oil, make sure that you account for it, because oil adds up very quickly. And so as you can see, 1/2 a tablespoon is 60 calories and 7 grams of fat, so that adds up fast. And then for dinner, or for snacks, I kept the Kodiak cake and the chocolate chips for 1 tablespoon, which is 1 serving, and then I added 100 grams of strawberries for again, increased fiber, increased nutrients. So as you can see, I added some sort of fruit or vegetable to each of the meals, and I modified the other carb servings. So again, with breakfast, I changed 2 slices down to 1 to accommodate for the extra fiber from the and carbs from the cutie. During lunch, I did 1/2 of a serving of dry, because I added the apple and zucchini for extra fiber and carbs. And then I added the red pepper and the strawberries to dinner and snack. So you may be thinking, why 100 grams? Why do you keep picking 100 grams for most of these? And that's because it's just a number that I chose. I like to go off easy numbers, and anything less than 100 grams for a vegetable really doesn't give you a whole lot of fiber, bang for your buck. So I do recommend between, 50, 100, or 150 grams of a fruit or veggie at each meal. And so as you can see now, we are closer. We are almost at the macros, because again, I'll show you here, these were the numbers that we were trying to hit. 160, 125, and 55. So we have almost 160. We're about 5 grams short here, spot on there. And if we can go down here and see the fiber, now we're at 23 grams. So we're pretty dang close, which is much better than the original version. And then if I wanted to increase the fats a little bit to get closer, I could even just go in here and do 2 servings of the light sour cream. And so that's going to increase the fats and carbs a little bit. So now we're 52 and 159. So even closer. I don't recommend trying to freak yourself out about trying to get 100% on each macro every single day. And I do recommend a range of around 5 grams, higher or lower, for most of the macros. That will keep you in a good range without having yourself go crazy from trying to reach everything perfectly. But yeah, so that's how to create your macros for optimizing. For optimizing, hitting your macros every single day. And so then the best part too is that you can go through and just copy the day that you had. So I'm going to show you on my phone. So if you click this little tab here, and then you click copy from date, you can say, I want to copy breakfast from today. And boom, it copied it right there. That's pretty cool too. That's another little trick to make it easier. If you have, the same food 2 days in a row, just to make it easier to hit your macros, that's an easy little tweak to do. And then if you can also go back in and you can click on something. So we'll do the egg. And it says serving size, 1 egg, number of servings, 2. You can click on the serving size and change it. You can do, backspace 3, or you can do, if you go to zucchini, you see where it says the serving is 100 grams. If you tap the 100 grams, it will give you an option to say 100 grams, 1 gram, ounces. So you can choose different serving sizes that work best for you and modify it that way. So that's a real quick way to make sure that you are hitting your macros. If you want this little freebie of the creating the framework of your meals, let me know and I'll send it to you. If you have any questions below, leave them below about how to make sure you're hitting your macros every single day. Just let me know any questions and I'll get back to you. And otherwise, I hope that this was helpful.